folks from around the world. Welcome to the IR4 Podcast. It's me, Jeremy Alexander, Newsome Smallbox, and I got Brian Masterson, that beautiful, handsome devil on the left. And joining us today is a good friend of mine, a phenomenal person, mining expert, benches 500 pounds.
I do deadlift 500. Well, not right now. I'm just a gelatinous mass at the moment.
Hey, but you could. Mr. Brandon Mayfield, the gelatinous mass. How are you, man? You doing well?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing solid.
Very well.
What part of the world do you live in again, Brandon?
South of Jacksonville, Florida.
That's right. Okay. Well, we're definitely going to be hanging out again soon then, because I love Fernandina Beach. That's like one of my favorite places in the world.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of good beaches. Volano is my beach of choice. That's the one I usually go to when I go to the beach.
Right on. So, you know how IR4 works. I want to let everyone know that Brandon Mayfield is a patron. He's been a patron for a while. He's been. How long have you been trading cryptos now, Brandon?
I bought it when, let's see, I got it when ETH was like 115 probably.
Very nice.
When I got into all of it. Gorgeous.
Very good stuff.
That's when I bought everything else too, and then discovered alt shortly after, and then mining shortly after that. And I gotta say that's my favorite so far as dealing with the cryptocurrency world.
You've been diving deep into mining. Tell us a little bit about that. You said you had a post the other day about you had a mining that does NVIDIA and AMD at the same time or something to that extent. What do you mean by that?
Oh, yeah. So what'll happen sometimes is if you're running AMD and NVIDIA cards on the same rig, it won't stay stable, so it'll keep crashing. And people run into a lot of those issues. Fortunately, I haven't really ran into too many of them. I got mining-specific drivers installed on the cards. I don't know if that plays a factor or not, but so far, so good. You know, I don't really have too much going on right now, but I'm just lacking graphics cards, really. I mean, that's the name of the game. How many cards can you buy? You know, big shortages going on, overpriced.
Is there really?
Everything. Oh, yeah. Graphics cards have probably doubled, tripled what their MSRPs normally are.
Where do you buy your graphic cards from?
Lately, Amazon, but I've just been kind of hunting. I'd like to score a whole bunch of them off of Alibaba, but, you know, it all comes down to funds. I have a lot of projects going on right now, so I can't go 100% in any one direction, you know, so it's kind of, I'm spread a little thin on the funds, as it were.
Yeah,
like I said,
sure. Are you have you heard that news of the ASIC miner that's coming out that will allow for pretty much make GPU irrelevant?
Well, that no, unless it's something super new, maybe. See, I know a lot of the coins actually, the way the algorithm is set up, it's kind of anti-ASIC miners.
Yeah.
So it's only support GPU mining, a lot of the different algorithms. So that may be possible, but I think that GPU mining is probably going to stick around for a while. And not only that, I also learned that this isn't nothing new, using graphics processing units to do calculations for things. So there's actually a lot of other sectors that use this tech. So that's kind of got my mind wandering, like, you know, renting computing power is nothing new, but as the new world develops, we're going to need more of that computing power. And a lot of people working remotely these days, so why not just outsource or source some computing power? You know what I mean? If that's what you're looking for. Yeah. And I think the market, the way it's shaping with, you know, crypto and the way it's, you know, being accepted, that may be an avenue also. You know, we might see it spread, you know, as we are into, you know, all of the sectors. You know what I mean? Not just...
That would make sense. What do you mine? Do you have something you focus on specifically?
No, not really. I'm still fine-tuning, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I've been benchmarking with NiceHash before I go into, you know, like Awesome Miner or Simple Miner operating systems, once I get more cards going, of course. Mm-hmm. But I've just been trying to see what's the best bang for the buck, and I've actually been surprised at what I found. Actually, right now they're all on Equihash. That's what they're mining currently. Okay. Usually they don't get together like that, but sometimes they do.
Yeah.
usually like Dagger Hashimoto, which is the ETH algorithm for so your AMDs are going to want to favor that one, and then your NVIDIA's love Equihash. Seems like, as far as this is concerned, seems to be calling it the most profitable.
Sure, man. I mean, that was, like I said, you took to mining real quick. I mean, that's something I still know very, very little about. It's not my world, man. Not my specialty, I guess.
Well, it's beautiful because every time when you go buy a graphics card, you're literally buying an employee. Yep. Like a robot. I got a little robot, makes me money all day. Doesn't eat, sleep, or take breaks. It's just chunking the change out.
Can you explain to some of our listeners how to get set up? So, like, all right, so let's say you go on and give us some examples of the different graphic cards that you like, and then once you receive those from Amazon or from wherever you buy them, how does one to get set up in mining? We talked about it at a higher level in the probably episode 5 or 6, somewhere around there, Jeremy, but I still think like people still have some questions as to how to actually get set up mining.
Sure. Yeah, just getting set up in the whole thing. Let me grab a quick piece of hardware here. I think you'll find this interesting.
Yeah, totally, man.
All right, so basically a miner is just a computer, right? Like everybody technically has a miner. If you have a computer, you have a miner. Mm-hmm. If it's got a decent graphics card in it. Mm-hmm. So you already have one. The only difference is you'll start getting some with more PCIe slots. And then you'll want to get something that looks like this, which is a riser. Put that up to the camera. And so you'll be able to plug your graphics card into that and then run that down into multiple PCIe ports on your motherboard. And so you'll buy motherboards specific to mining a lot of the times. Like others, actually, everybody's getting into the game now, seems like. But that's the main thing is how many cards can you fit, per motherboard? And there's still some discrepancy on that. Like you can do 18 on one that's available, but, some people recommend, batching a little smaller, like only 6 to 8 graphics cards. So I'll kind of do that. Although I am tempted, though, to run some smaller cards and do an 18 build. Actually, a buddy of mine's doing an 18 card build on one of those cards. And they also have another card out that you don't need the riser. It's a riserless mining motherboard. And I forget what that thing was called. Octominer, that's what it is. It's an Octo mining board, if you want to Google that real quick. And then rather than needing the risers, there's just an extended motherboard. So you can just plug them all in, bing, 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 bing.
Yeah.
Whoa. So it's a specialty item for sure. And it comes with the CPU already installed, which is nice. Saves you on costs. And RAM, I think. I think you get just enough RAM. I think 2 gigs probably. Yeah.
How are you able to determine your cost to revenue, if you will? I mean, to be profitable mining, obviously your electricity cost has to be lower than what your reward is. Are you able to track that, or how have you, or are you part of pools? Are you mining specific chains? What's the most profitable way of covering your costs and making some extra money, whether it be spending money or buying new equipment?
Well, yeah, you definitely want to you make the deal. The deal is made when you buy, right? Like when you buy anything, a car, a house, all of these things. So you don't want to pay overinflated prices, because then your ROI, your return on investment, getting your money back out of it, before you start turning pure profit, you want to keep that down to 6-7 months is, pretty average. It used to be a lot better, but so you kind of want to price that out, and you can benchmark whatever card you're interested in. For instance, a GTX 1070 is a great card if you want to, get into it. But you can also just run GTX 1050s. Like one GTX 1050 right now will pay you about 70 cents a day.
Okay.
And that costs about $150. So if somebody's got a calculator sitting in front of them, they want to run that. That'll tell you how long it takes to pay for that. And then really the other graphics cards is your most expensive part of the whole build. Other than that, you run, a really inferior CPU, because you don't want to, you're not going to CPU mine because it's just really not cost effective. They produce a lot of heat. Mm-hmm. So no i3s, i5s, i7s needed in these. You run something real simple, and then just 4 gigs of RAM, whatever your motherboard is. And then your power supply can get a little expensive. as you get into like the platinum ones that are really efficient and whatnot, those can start to get a little bit pricey. Once you get about 1200 watts, it's probably going to want what you want for most of your big builds. But yeah, basically that's just how you calculate it. What does it cost? And then you can benchmark it real quick at nice hash. That'll give you a little bit of an idea.
Yeah.
And then you get into overclocking, BIOS flashing of the cards to make them, you want to inch all those little pennies out because they start adding up. You know what I mean?
Totally. And Brian, did you mentioned not too long ago that mining might go away, Brian? Why did you say that?
It's possible.
Just because of the EOS supercomputer, if you will, and delegated proof of stake it still keeps the blockchain as a decentralized ledger, but there's still more, especially when you get into the delegation side of things and proof of authority. If you move into those type of algorithms, then you're really advocating, or the blockchain's real, not purpose, but the people who have the power are the ones who actually hold the majority of the coins. So versus miners now are all proof of work. So just like we were talking about, however much electricity you're using, let's say you cover all your costs from when you purchased everything, but if you're covering your electricity costs and your profit and you're profitable in your mining, people really don't give a shit about the project or the blockchain or the coin because they're making money.
Yeah, you just cash it out. I mean,
right.
Interesting.
So when you have a Dash or an EOS based blockchain where it's proof of stake or there's master nodes involved, then those miners are going to be more incentivized to hold on to those coins. But sometimes you don't even need to mine those coins. You just need to, like, let's say you purchase a bunch of coin, a bunch of Dash, you can have voting rights and you can become a master node, and that's just by purchasing coin. You don't even need to mine them. But that's a lot of cost, right? So you're going to be buying a lot of coins just to have a vote or a proxy in that certain blockchain, which you help determine the direction of the solutions it's providing for. But I think mining is important to have. It's important to be around. I mean, that was the reason why Bitcoin was even successful. If it wasn't for mining, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Right. So
it's a possibility. I don't know. I can't predict the future. I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't know.
Okay.
Well, one thing to be noted in that the coin, like you were saying, really doesn't mean much. So it's really the algorithm, and then a lot of the newer coins, they have to pick what algorithm they're going to base their coin off of, right? Like how it's going to work, what the operating system of the coin is going to be, and that's your algorithm. And a lot of the new coins, are choosing Equihash over, the Ethereum algorithm. I know, like you were saying, is going to be going to proof of stake, opposed to proof of work. And that's going to get rid of miners for that specific algorithm. But so as you have other coins coming out, they're going to pick which type of algorithm they want to use. And I'm not sure if it's a cost savings to, not use something that needs miners, and could be the end of mining. But I mean, I hope not, because mining is awesome.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's interesting concept to think about for sure. Man, that's cool, dude. Yeah, what a concept. I like how you said you bought a little employee. I've never heard anyone mention that before, but that's totally...
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
That's a really cool concept. And
just churning away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So
when are you going to build out your farm? Have you any desire of building out a farm?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, right now it's just working under, technically my name, so I'm going to have to, sole proprietorship, which is not the way to do it at all. This is really just a proof of concept and doing some tweaking, and that's been proven. So I'll be looking to form an entity corporation to, just do the whole thing. And then maybe if I can get a little financing involved with it, you know what I mean? It's really the same thing as renting out houses. Just on a super digital level. Like if you look at the business structure of the whole thing, it doesn't really matter what you're doing. It's how you're making money. Or can you leverage, banks' money to increase the cash flow?
Yep.
So these are all, things I'll be tackling in a not so distant future. And
nice. I don't know if you watched our big data episode, but actually in Florida they were discussing since retail malls and Amazon's really taken over that aspect, they were talking about starting to transition malls into data centers, and in data centers obviously you can plug in a bunch of miners and have these mining pools, and farms just in old malls. It's crazy to think about.
That's perfect, because you can do about my background is the power utility, so that helps a little bit. So I figure I could probably do about 10 fully built rigs in my house, safely. I can, run another circuit out of my current panel I have right now. But at some point, you're going to have to go commercialized, and you're going to have to get three-phase power, to maximize those savings. And that's a great place to do it, because old abandoned malls got three-phase running into them, and they're made for a whole lot of power draw, and bingo zango.
You let me know when you need some financing. I'd be happy to help out.
Today, now.
For the first deal ever done on Patreon.
That's right.
IR4 Podcast.
Boom.
It's just a matter of cards. And the thing about it is, what does the future hold? I don't know. You think all those people buying houses back when the real estate market crashed knew what the future was going to hold? No, you gotta. Where's the money at? Go after it.
You have to. I mean, at some point you got to take that leap. And I will say, Brandon, I mean, in all seriousness, this guy is he has raised and helped raise a lot of money for other projects. I mean, at least contact him, reach out to him, and
for sure.
Figure out where it goes. Question: teach me something new. You mentioned power 3, watt 3. What was that term?
Huh? Three-phase power.
Yeah. What is that?
Three-phase power. So right now in your house, you only have two-phase power. You have two legs coming in. You have two hot legs, right? Like if you go to an outlet in your house, you got 1, 2 hot legs. Actually, only one of them is actually hot. And then in order that you have 3 wires, 2 hot legs, going in your overhead service drop to your house, right? It's an easy way to tell. And to where in a commercial, you're going to have 4 wires going in. So 3 of those are going to be hot legs. And then you'll pull different voltages out of them. Like say, a very common bank, if you look on a pole, you'll see 3 transformers hanging together.
Yeah. Very
common, bank is 120, 240, 208. You get that high leg, and you need that to turn 3-phase commercial motors. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
And they do that because it reduces their energy costs. It's a more efficient use.
Yeah.
But it's not needed on a residential level.
I see. That makes sense. I didn't know that. So tell me, what are your thoughts on this, man? Because I've been mentioning this to people, and people just keep going, whatever, man. I think power lines, like connected power, is going to be a thing of the past in like a decade.
Oh, absolutely.
You think so? Really?
Heck yeah. No,
yeah, I agree.
I'm all Tesla. I mean, I love the guy. You know what I mean? And I don't see it. It's so old in a lot of the structure.
Yeah, that's what I feel like power lines. I'm driving down the road and I see all these power lines. I'm like, that is so expensive, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. And it's just, it's funny. It's funny too, that's how I make some money right now, but it's just a terribly outdated system. It really is. I mean, even the way it's built, it's just a lot of improvement in that area.
Tell us about the inefficiencies of that, just of it all. What in your opinion? I mean, again, you're a power professional or specialist. That's how I would title you. What would be some inefficiencies in that space or in that spectrum or in that industry?
Oh God! So like when you transfer, electricity puts off a lot of heat, right? Yep. And the cables and lines it's running through. So as you travel long distances, and they negate some of this by stepping up the voltage, because it uses less amps to get down the road, but you lose so much in heat, like tons and tons and tons of energy and heat loss just by having to transfer it those distances, and then underground. I mean, that's a failure. Your underground system, like everybody's like, I want to have underground cable going to my house, because then my power won't go out. It is so false. It's not even funny. Like,
really?
Yeah, because you got overhead lines feeding it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no generation where it's getting fed underground, goes to the substation underground, stays underground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in a lot of communities, they don't even go off of, a substation level. they're right there at a regular distribution out of the sub. Like, I guess I could spend a lot more explaining that, but it's basically just the lowest level of line.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You've got like distribution line and sub transmission and transmission, and that goes to generation. So your underground communities are fed from overhead lines, and when those fail, it just doesn't matter.
Right.
And the stuff falls down all the time. And so what's even worse is if you're in an underground community, say your neighbors and everything are all good. Well, if there's a fault in the line, it takes forever to fix it because you got to find it. And all the cables are only rated for 30 years. And there's a lot of them out there that are burning 40, 50, 60 years. I mean,
no way.
It's literally 69. Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So what would be a valuable or a solution where it works, obviously, but
that's step number one. Can this work?
Well, I'm just thinking because of like wireless transmission, and I've seen a lot of people try to come out and provide these solutions, such as like U-Beam, I think was one, Coda Technology by Oasis, and they were showing all these, oh yeah, it works, like I Disrupt, TechCrunch, and things of that nature, but the technology really didn't work. So you can say that you can transmit energy wirelessly, but is it really happening? And you have the near frequency, like with your phone when you put that case on, that's there. But to really transmit energy over a certain amount of distances, how far? Like my idea, I've wanted to do this for 4 years now, is to have a centralized type of power source, like in a Starbucks or whatever, and have it work much like that of Wi-Fi, and you can connect in, pay a certain amount, and you have the energy coming in. But
that'll work. Well, that'll work. The problem is distance. How far can you get it? Now they've got it to where you can do it in any singular room. You know what I mean, and have your transmission spot and pick it up that way. So is that where your concern is? Just localized.
Well,
energy?
The distance, yes. But also the security of that energy network, if you will, and damages to perhaps electronics or humans in general.
Yeah, I'll just get microwaved.
Right. What spectrum or what wavelength on the spectrum is safe for humans and not safe for humans? Where are we using ultrasound wavelengths, or what's the delivery of that energy? And then if you get to the point where you can, from telephone to telephone pole, have a transmitter and a receiver on both sides, and then it's just happening down that line, and there's no need for the wires anymore. But as that's happening, can people tap into that energy source? How secure is it? And so forth. It's simply Wi-Fi, but it's energy instead of the internet being transmitted.
Oh yeah, like everything gets hacked, whether it's analog or digital. For instance, I'll give you modern day hacking of power. In some not so good areas, residents will actually skinny up the pole and hook jumper cables up to the lines to get their house.
No way.
Yeah, you call that analog hacking, if you will.
That's insane.
So somebody's going to hack it somehow. It's really not a good idea.
No, don't do that.
That'll kill you quick. They're like a breaker in your house. Those things don't, unless we set them to, they don't really go off for humans. It'll destroy you.
Whoa. Man, jumper cables.
For your answer there, I don't know. Solar panels. You know what I mean? I think, I've always had a term in my head. It's point of use generation. So you don't have to, deal with the loss of energy from having to transmit it around everywhere. You just make it right where you're going to use it.
Sure.
Yeah. That makes sense. So if let's say you're at home, a place of residence, or even, Starbucks or something, they would have their own energy source, just like Tesla's home battery, if you will.
Exactly.
But how is the energy getting there in the first place, and what type of energy is it? I mean, there has to be either a burning of coal and oil, or is it solar? I think solar's the future for sure.
Oh yeah,
what's the energy source, and how's it getting to that terminal?
Well, I think solar and wind, is great. I mean, we can keep working on the efficiencies of those. And not only that, the footprint of what you need to power a certain area is small enough to where, it can exist freely in their current environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely we're on the right track there. I see some more newer tech coming out in the future. Maybe some stuff we've never even thought of. You know what I mean? It comes out like, oh, hey, sure. That could be a big change. Like the iPhone. I remember the first time I got one of those in my hands. I'm like, what? Get out of here!
A mini computer in my hands.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, so do you feel like nuclear power and like centralized energy sources where it's being cultivated or created are going to become less commercialized, more disruptive, more to the end user creating their own source of energy? And
I hope so. It's burning dinosaur meat and and creating huge nuclear waste to store in areas so it can just break containment and seep into the ground. This all sounds very terrible. And actually, there's some really big global impacts being made into the ocean because of these things. Reactors they just can't get into that continually seep radioactivity in the ocean. Yeah, it's crazy. Like
for sure. Right. Do you think that the blockchain will help move into the Jeremy laughs every time I ask this question, but blockchain really does enhance and provide solutions to things of this nature. Do you in your opinion, would you agree or disagree?
I agree for more reason than one off the top of my head being just the community that the blockchain is creating in itself. You're bringing a whole lot of open-minded thinkers together to work on projects and talk about these issues, just like we're all sitting here today. And so these ideas are going to be, planted and seeded, and they're going to grow. And absolutely, just by the connecting of minds, are we going to improve things through the blockchain?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's my thing is, I don't know if it's political or if it's just capitalistic or what the holdup specifically is. At least here in the U.S. with clean energy, I think is almost abolishing. I mean, it's I say abolishing, astonishing. It's astonishingly slow because there's so many other clean energy sources out there. Like the one I think is most interesting is the one they put in the ocean. Have you seen those, Brandon?
Oh, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, the tidal generator.
I think that's incredibly obvious.
Power of the sea. Until what was that movie where it created that like little time loophole or whatever? God, what was that? Did you guys watch it? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't, but I can only imagine. It sounds crazy.
Yeah. It put like a split in time or something and like a whole nother other person.
Oh, man.
It's like, hey, how's it going? Because they like something to do with that.
That's freaky.
Actually, I think there's a lot of legalities coming with, like for putting big dams up like the Hoover Dam and stuff, because it actually makes an impact on how fast our Earth spins, right? As you dam up that water and slow it down, then it actually has a global effect and a gravitational effect on how fast we actually spin.
Wow.
I've never heard anything like that before.
But we harness the flow of water and for the gravitational energy, right? And that's how, moving a turbine and whatnot, that gravity is actually producing the energy. But I wonder if there's a way to harness the Earth's rotation and the force that's involved with, so that we don't have to. So if we're slowing it down and using all these fuels and simply just destroying this organism, we're harvesting the energy from Mother Earth. Is there a way where we can find renewable energy that's forever there, or is it just we're just fully consuming everything and killing this thing slowly?
No, let's suck it out of the sun, I say let's kill the sun first, not the Earth. No.
I'm with you though. I think solar power is an obvious answer. But the problem is it's free.
Why don't we go to Mars and see what resources are there, use some fuel source there and bring it back. I mean, I think that's what Elon's trying to do.
That's what we need to do. I'm all for it. I want to colonize the planet so bad. Like, why don't we have people living on the moon and on Mars yet? Like when are we going to get out of the galaxy? I hope it happens in my lifetime. I mean,
Man, it's crazy to think about all that.
I know. I can go I can take you down some serious rabbit holes. Don't let me get too far.
Hey, you can go deep as you want, man. It's fine.
Yeah, well, Jeremy, you preempted this question because you asked. What was the question you asked? I tangent lined there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I squirrel like that.
No, I was just asking, and just in general about just the clean energy, and I personally think that solar power and wind power and hydroelectric power are just so easily implemented. I'm just trying to figure out like what really is that holdup. It wasn't really a question; it's just more of a statement.
Well, think about all the people who don't have access to energy, right?
Yeah.
Who still live in huts and use mud and walk to create bricks. I mean, it's crazy. But I saw this. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but it's this light source where it uses gravity.
Yes,
so
I did see that.
There's a weight, and it goes like this, and it goes really slow, and it stays
cool.
light. And all you have to do is do it again, and
That was phenomenal.
It's ingenious.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, those, unfortunately, those people could do with just like a super tiny solar light. You know what I mean? Like, as seen on TV, I bought 3 of them. Those things are great. You get the solar powered little spotlights you stick around your house and stuff. So when you walk by, or little motion lights, I should say.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're cheap.
For sure. So let's talk about the leapfrog effect for the. I don't even want to say uncivilized, but people who aren't as tech savvy or as advanced in technologies as we are in this first world, and it still sounds bad to say that, but but those people in Africa or Indonesia or even in Latin American countries who are still using dumb phones, so to speak, that technology all culminated in Asia and then moved into the Western world. But I feel like the people who don't have the full access to the technology that we have, that we're tinkering with and trying to fix and trying to make more efficient, when it finally gets to them, it's going to be so far advanced from where it is now that it will be working, and they won't even have to learn about how to use it or anything like that. So like some of those people never even had to use a flip phone. Now they go straight to this small computer in their hand, and they have no idea what T9 texting was.
Yeah.
No, I think, I mean, with the spreading of information, that's awesome. So, more and more people have access to the internet. They see what's going on around them, And more importantly, though, as far as all of, third world country, global citizens, let's just call them, we all live on the same planet.
Good term.
They have the same gray matter in between their ears that we do, right? So it's just a matter of training. And so how do we get, how do we colonize the planets faster? Well, we need to, really we need to unite as a people, just all to get, planet Earth. We're all just planet Earthlings.
Yeah.
And get rid of all those barriers, bring them up to our level, or meet somewhere in the middle, learn from them, as we teach them and whatever they're interested in. And get all the minds thinking together and moving in a direction. Like,
what would help that massively would be like some type of decentralized currency, I think.
I know. I know.
What's that?
That would help tremendously if you could just take all the borders out.
Like? Oh, that looks like.
Man, no, I think it's silly. Just like even having this line in the sand that's not even there, a proverbial line in the sand between two states, even, just creating that divide. And I understanding, it's just so archaic in the way of, I understand the lack of connectivity back then made sense for these small communities, whether it be villages, states, cities, to have their own governmental type of structure, and then we all combined one. But the lack of connectivity, the lack of communication, the lack of information have all dramatically rose to this place where everyone's so well connected now. I feel like this old system needs to start getting updated as well. The old governance system,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a huge waste of time having all this conflict over, stupid ass shit all the time. I hate turning on the news because it's just like, why? What? Yeah. More than can't we all get along? Even if we can't get along, can we move towards the same goal? Right. Better people. You know what I mean? Of course we have differences and, conflict, and it's always good to have a little competition, I guess. I mean, I don't really think in that way at all, but, that helps different types of people grow in certain type of ways, but yeah, as far as not getting along, I think it's just a huge waste of time. I mean, what's this?
Yeah, I mean, it's not even constructive. Think about if we all were working towards a common goal. Think of the efficiency in that process and how quickly we would have that whatever said built in, instead of going back and forth and saying, no, this is wrong, no, this is right, and legislation and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's insane. And I think when we look at the decentralized world and the decentralized technology of blockchain and what that is doing to innovate is awesome, but then you have that financial component to it, which is the digital currency, and regulators and the government don't want to stifle the innovation that's happening with the technology, but at the same time there's a lot of fraudulent shit going on here because of those bad players. There needs to be some regulators and there needs to be governance. I'm not saying I'm not some type of anarchist, but there needs to be governance for sure. And I'm very happy and very surprised, frankly, about the professionalism and the way the SEC and the CTFC and the government in general and the big banks have been looking on blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And they've done a great job not stifling innovation. They've done a great job going after bad actors, but it's all starting to come out now. All the bad players, all the bad actors, all the thieves, if you will, are starting to, I mean, the SEC just launched all these subpoenas this past week. So all these bad actors are they're cleaning up the space, which is great. So I'm really looking forward to what that next springboard is into the future of this space.
Tell me more about these subpoenas. What did you hear, or what was released?
They're just going after all these fraudsters in the ICO space.
Gotcha.
I mean, the ICO boom happened April of 2000 is when it started. April of 2017 through the end of December, and it's quieted down. There's still obviously ICOs, but what the SEC has announced is that all these people who, I mean, look at the T0. T0 is a securities exchange that was built by Overstock and Patrick Byrne, but T0 is under SEC investigation now, which is huge. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're just making sure everyone's doing it right, making sure there's KYC AML procedures in place, but they're just they're cleaning up the space, which I think is needed. It was unfortunate. It was unfortunate that the crypto community couldn't come together, form some type of nonprofit. The only one I'm aware of is a few. One being the TXSRB, which is the Token Exchange Self-Regulating Body. But there's really no governments eternally in our community in this industry to help move this forward. It was kind of just like a free-for-all. Take what you can get and see what happens.
Yeah. No, you have to have governments. I mean, plain and simple, just because. We meet them, we talk to them every day. People are selfish, you know what I mean? So that's the whole idea of a government, is to keep the thing running, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
People are just too selfish, you know what I mean? And then that crushes everything. So we have to have governments and regulatory, bodies in place to make sure that doesn't happen. I'm for one, I'm pro, government. I think everything needs to change. And I'm also pro taxes because, like I said, you have a whole bunch of selfish people.
For sure.
They aren't made to give to keep the wheel turning. The wheel stops, and we're all screwed.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So that's.
I think, governance and taxes are very important. I also think there should be some type of separation. I mean, there was a separation of church and state, right? But is there a separation between the financial and state? So. Because right now, those sectors are very intertwined. You look at lobbyists, you look at the bailouts, you look at where the tax money is actually going, the Federal Reserve, private institution. Well, yeah. So,
there's a lot of crooked stuff that happens.
There's a lot of intermingling there between the two. And I think that if that can be more separated, I think we'll see more efficiencies coming from the governmental aspect and actually that of the financial aspect. But what is the root of power? I think the root of power is information, but which I'm sure governments have over, a common citizen. But I also think people would say money and the control of the wealth is very important too. So I think the government would be reluctant to really separate the two. But if we just explore the church and state separation, I think that was a huge component in the governance of people.
Yeah. Basically, what you're saying in more of a larger way is you're trying to get rid of the grease that keeps the cog spinning, when the grease is the money. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's the problem, is you can't get rid of it. And then there's so much of it got taken before. You know what I mean? Not taken, but, earned or got, or however it was acquired. And peeling that, you know what I mean? Like, the power of the few and all this other stuff. Peeling that out of their hands, you know what I mean, is pretty much probably going to be impossible.
Yeah, real tough.
In a grand scheme. So, you can only hope to influence and make better decisions and keeping everything moving forward. As far as the corruption and stuff, I mean, maybe it sounds corrupt, you know what I mean? Some of it, and then maybe some of it's just plain out necessary. Sometimes necessary things happen that people won't agree with, but if they didn't happen, once again, the wheel stops spinning. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and that's a good analogy, and I didn't think about it that way. The grease to the cogs in the wheel. I think I would retract my statement and agree with you. That is a very good point. I didn't think about that. Because there needs to be some type of financial incentive for these people to do what they do and govern the people. But when is it too much, and when is it too little, and so forth? And that can be argued till we're blue in the face. But I agree with you. There does need to be a financial component in the governance of whatever the state is. But yeah.
Yeah, and then you go to what type of government it is. I think a capitalistic society is great. I think capitalistic society, furthers innovation. You know what I mean? Because people are trying to come up with that next good thing. However it's incentivized, everybody has their own perfect thing. And most successful people eventually realize, or enlightened people realize, that money is indeed just a tool. It is only the grease in the cog, and what can you do with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, and I've come to find that more of your successful people, a lot of people are like, oh, wealthy people are so, mean and have like a bad, coming from, we all come from, myself, I know Jeremy, come from working class families, and, there's a very bad stigma on wealthy people. Well, I'm here to tell you, I've come across a few of them. They're very nice, they're very generous people, and they are trying to help. And I think that's why they are ultimately became wealthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Not to say,
here's an interesting thought, man, because you brought up a very good point about wealthy people. What was a lot of it is portrayed in some of the movies.
Can you guys still see me?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I thought my screen went away.
No, it's all good.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but the challenge is a lot of it is the portrayal of rich people in movies when you're younger, and you watch like the rich guy driving the Porsche who's mean, or the person who has all the money like doesn't give to the kids during Christmas or whatever it is, and so you start getting imprinted in your brain. Oh, I don't want to be mean, therefore I don't want to be rich. Right? And that's a lot of people strive with just the subconscious feeling that they don't want to be rich, because if they are rich, then they become mean like the person they've watched. When in reality, I mean, who do you think funds like 98% of all the nonprofits, or the hospitals, or the children's hospitals, or the burn centers, or the cancer research? I mean, those are all wealthy people who've donated. You just haven't heard about them because they don't talk about it. They like to be anonymous, or whatever the case is. And we a lot of people focus on the bad people who are rich, who are mean, or arrogant, who are assholes, who are pricks. And
that was probably the means of acquiring that wealth too. What have they done? A lot, like you said, Jeremy, if they're doing malicious or illegal activities, or things like warlords, or arms dealers and shit like that, it's crazy. But you can make a whole hell of a lot of money busting your ass and working hard and providing something to this world that people deem is valuable, Sure. So I'm full on entrepreneurship, advocator, and all that.
Yeah. I mean, my belief system boils right down to one simple word: karma. That's it. 100%. That's my belief system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do unto others as you want done unto you.
Exactly. It's that simple. People get caught up in everything. It's so simple,
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. That might be the perfect ending to the podcast. Believe it or not, guys, that was almost 50 minutes. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
It went by quick.
I know. That's phenomenal. Time flies first class when you're having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Brandon, man, I've always just liked talking to you in general, dude. Thanks for being a part of just the overall crypto community, being a part of Real Life Trading, being my friend, being my trading partner, being my buddy.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for being on the podcast. And Brian, thanks for being awesome, man. Yeah, you're absolutely
Brandon, make sure you reach out to me, ask Jeremy for my email or whatnot. Would love to talk to you a little bit more about mining farms, perhaps, and what we can do there.
Actually, I have some very proprietary engineering ideas that I know will work. I just don't know which ones are going to work better.
Let's do it. Big deals. Big deals. Let's go.
Seriously, it's fun. It's real fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, and thank you for being a patron, and thank you everyone else who is listening in on this episode for being patrons. We appreciate your support.
Absolutely.
Jeremy, you want to send a sign off? You're gonna be gone next week, so we've been having Skype interviews.
Yeah, I will send the sign off. By the time you guys are getting this, I'm flying to New York City right now, so we have done this in the past, and you're now watching it in the present. But for those who are subscribing, thanks so much for being patrons. To Brandon, to Brian, thanks all for being here. You are amazing individuals, and until next time, love, live, learn. You guys rock. We'll see you later. Bye.
See you guys.
See ya.